Welcome to Alpha Defense, the channel that simplifies defense. You must be wondering what I'm doing here. Well, idea of this video was to collectively talk about main battle tank Arjun and formally end this back and forth between me and Red Effect. We initially thought that we'll do this video on a live stream, however, we later discovered the problems associated with this. Understand these problems from Red Effect.
Yeah, I believe Maximus deserves some credit for this. He recently made a video talking about our Arjun videos, and he suggested we do a livestream discussion. But after talking between each other, we concluded that livestream would not be a good idea for several reasons. First and foremost, we need to discuss technical details, and technical details require research, which cannot be done in the middle of a livestream. Another problem could be caused by the people watching the livestream, where some could make some intolerable comments which could derail the discussion. So we agreed to discuss about Arjun, and we did. And we concluded it would be the best to do a neutral collaboration video which basically summarizes what we talked about and the conclusions we have made.
So as Dredd said, we are trying to keep this one as neutral as possible, and we'll be talking about only hard facts, avoiding the additional commentary to make the subject very clear. Starting with the first one, Arjun do not have a blast door, and initially it was believed because this tank do not have a blast door, the ammo storage is not separated from the crew, and this is why the crew is vulnerable. Understand the importance of blast door from Red Effect.
So the way the blast door and the blowout panel configuration works is that once the ammunition is struck, the fire or explosion caused by ammunition would blow out the panels on the top, hence the name, and the blast door would contain the fire inside the ammunition compartment, providing absolute safety for the crew.
As explained by Red, blast door is really very important for a tank which has a manual loading. However, in case of Arjun, it uses a different approach which is quite unique. This approach is called Cabis Bob, which stands for Canisterized Ammunition Bin with individual shutters and blow-off panel. In this approach, the ammo is stored in a kind of box which is quite similar to the blow-off panel and blast door configuration. However, in this approach, instead of blast door, the individual shutters are used, and while taking out the ammo from the rake, instead of opening the entire blast door, you are opening just one individual shutter. In terms of performance, both the systems are similar. However, Red feels there are some problem with this system. Let's understand that.
The problem that can arise from this is that in the heat of the battle, the loader might forget to close the shutter. This is the problem of having to manually close each shutter of ammunition. In comparison, in M1 for example, the blast door is closed automatically, but a solution for that might already exist. Alpha will tell you more about it.
So as Red explained, there are potentially problems with this approach, but there are reports that there's a spring mechanism that is planned around this that will ensure that these individual shutters will close automatically after some time. However, presently we do not know the status of this, so we cannot confirm if this approach is already incorporated in main battle tank Arjun or will be incorporated later. Now let's talk about ammo that Arjun uses. Initially it was believed that Arjun main battle tank has just one type of APF SDS round that was called FACPDS Mark I with a DOP of 300mm. However, the tank also has two another type of APF SDS rounds. These are called FACPDS Mark 1A and FACPDS Mark II. The testing data reveals the DOP offered by FACPDS Mark 1A is around 515mm, whereas the DOP offered by FACPDS Mark II is around 600mm. These are quite decent rounds. However, today's best-in-class ammo have a lot to offer. Understand that from Red Effect.
When we compare the Mark 1A and Mark II APF SDS projectiles to the best projectiles out there, we can see that they are not really up to that standard. Currently, most modern armies in the world have much better projectiles like US MA29A4, German DM63, Russian 3BM55, and even upcoming German DM73 and Russian Vacuum 1 are far superior projectiles, mainly because of their length and length-to-diameter ratio. But we also have to compare the projectiles fired by Arjun to the potential enemies it could be fighting, and that would be China and Pakistan. Pakistan currently uses Chinese 125-2 and 125-2M APF SDS projectiles, as well as domestically produced Nazia, which all fall in similar range of performance to the APF SDS Mark II fired by Arjun. Chinese do have a much better projectile though, called 125-3, but I will touch on it later when we talk about the gun of Arjun. But before that, we will talk about the so-called weak spot in the armor, provided by the placement of the main gun sight. When we look at the Arjun's turret, we can see that it was inspired by the turret of Leopard 2. However, looking further into it, we can see that, unlike Leopard 2, Arjun does not have an armor extension behind the main gun sight. In Leopard 2, up to Leopard 2A4, the armor was further extended behind the main gun sight, but it might not be as bad as it might appear at first. Alpha will tell you more about it.
So looking at the main battle tank Arjun from the frontal side, one cannot disagree that this side configuration is a kind of weak spot. Right behind this so-called hole, you have a block of steel that provides the protection. Based on the various claims, the thickness of this block is 350 to 450 millimeters, but the important point here is the material that is used to make the steel block. This material is called DMR 1700, and this high hardness steel block offers much more protection when compared with standard RHA. Based on the data available in the public domain, this type of steel offers 2 times the resistance when compared with RHA. So if the thickness of this block is 350 millimeters, the effective thickness will be 700 millimeters, and if it is 400 millimeters, then effective thickness will be 800 millimeters. And this is why Arjun do not have armor extension like you have it in Leo. One important thing that should be considered while talking about DMR 1700 is the velocity of the projectile. If the velocity of the projectile is really high, then the resistance offered by DMR 1700 also reduces. Based on the maxima and minima value that are provided by the experimental papers, the value ranges from 100% to 65%. Although this could have been much better if the sight was on top of the turret. Understand that from Red Effect.
As we could see, Leopard 2A4 had an armor extension behind the main gun sight, but it was still not as effective as the rest of the front armor. Therefore, the new design of Leopard, starting from Leopard 2A5, had the sight moved to the top of the turret to get rid of the possible weak spot, thus improving the effectiveness of the armor.
It is believed that main battle tank Arjun has this configuration to enhance the ease of maintenance. The gun and optics of main battle tank Arjun can be replaced in matter of just 30 minutes.
Yes, as Alpha explained, the initial design asked for this placement because of the ease of access, but with the increased longevity and reliability of modern optics, it is no longer really necessary to keep such configuration, and thus moving the optics on the top of the turret in the future would be a right choice. Now we will move to the side armor protection. The side armor of the turret up to a certain point has composite armor combined with explosive reactive armor panels, which provide excellent side protection. But as I said, it is only up to a certain point. Alpha will tell you more.
So before we talk about the side armor, let's be clear that the tank which I am talking about is Arjun Mark 1 Alpha. As you can see on your screen right now, these famous mystery box, which are often termed as toolboxes, they have a high hardness steel block in front of it. And because of this high hardness steel block, this effectively works as an spaced armor, which actually provides a good protection, although it is not comparable to the combination of explosive reactive armor and composite armor. Although this situation will completely change with Urban Survival Kit. Understand Urban Survival Kit from Red Effect.
As Alpha said, such side protection is not really great, but India has developed an Urban Survival Kit for armored vehicles, including tanks, which drastically increase the protection of the side and would mainly be used in urban environments. Now we will talk about the gun. As you all might know, Arjun is armed with a 120mm rifled gun, which is not that good, mainly because of the lifespan of the barrel. Since the gun is rifled and not smooth, the rifling can wear out much quicker than the smoothbore barrel of the same quality. The best smoothbore guns like American 120mm M256 have up to 1500 effective full charge ammunition lifespan, which is much longer than Arjun's 500 to 550 effective full charge round lifespan, but there are several reasons why the rifled gun was initially adopted for Arjun.
So as explained by Red, the rifled gun is actually not the best gun for any tank in today's generation. However, in case of Arjun main battle tank, the requirement that was given by Indian Army was to make a tank that is capable of firing HE round. This choice can be understood better because Indian Army has inherited lot of things from British Army, because this army was earlier British Indian Army. Also, their own experience from 1971 war has made them believe that tank can be used for infantry support and can be really very effective, and this is the reason why they decided to go with a tank that can do infantry support using a HE round. Because of the requirement of HESH round, DRDO was forced to use a rifled gun, and with all the negatives that comes with a rifled gun, this gun of MBT Arjun could perform much better than the smooth bore gun of T90 of Indian Army. Yes, the effective full charges that an Indian T90 barrel can fire is 250, whereas the effective full charges that MBT Arjun can fire is 550. Although the best guns available in the world today can fire much more than that, which will ensure that the total maintenance cost of the tank is much lower. If you talk about the sheer performance, then that parameter is not at all impacted. It is all about the maintainability and the total life of the barrel. There's another problem that we need to discuss here, which Red will explain in detail.
India is currently developing a projectile which is supposed to penetrate up to 800mm of armor. This is certainly possible since many countries have done the same, but the problem is that the current gun of Arjun is insufficient for firing such projectile. The main reason is that the APF SDS are overcharged projectiles, and thus they wear out the gun barrel much quicker. And the stronger the APF SDS, the more it will wear the barrel out. As I said earlier, Chinese have adopted a 125-3 projectile with claimed 800mm of penetration. But because it is so powerful, it can only be fired by ZTZ-99A, which has an improved gun, and cannot be fired by older tanks such as ZTZ-96. We also see this happening in Germany and Russia. New DM73 APF SDS can only be fired by Leopard 2A7 since it has a new L55A1 gun, and Russian Vacuum 1 can only be fired by T14 Armata because of the new 2A82 gun. Both of those projectiles are speculated to have similar performance of around 800mm of penetration. Therefore, Arjun must follow in those footsteps and receive a new gun, preferably a smoothbore.
So from the starting we have maintained that Arjun MBT was a tank that was developed specifically for the requirement of Indian Army. The tank has many similarities when compared with German Leopard 2 and its variants. However, there are many other solutions that are deployed specifically for Indian Army's requirement. Overall, it is a quite decent tank, and it was nobody's case that Arjun is world's best tank, although it can potentially become the Indian cousin of Leopard 2A7 or 2A7 Plus.
Yes, Arjun currently has a lot of good features: the fire control system, laser warning receivers, remote machine gun station, etc. And with the upcoming upgrades, it is really looking to be a really good tank. I hope you enjoyed our little Arjun collaboration video, which concludes the long Arjun saga. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will have a great day.